Today we're dishing with you from Bomberos, which is located at 3345 14th Street Northwest in Columbia Heights.
And today we have with us Neil Alpert, the Director of Institutional Relations at the Washington National Opera. Neil, thanks for being with us.
Happy to be here.
And so, opera. Opera is something that we learned in Pretty Woman. You either absolutely love or absolutely hate. I'm not sure if that's true. You can tell me if that's true. But
Sure.
How big is opera here in the District of Columbia?
It depends who you ask. If you're looking for the crowd that watches the Golden Girls, probably very popular.
Okay.
If you're looking for
I like the Golden Girls.
If you're a crowd that watches a younger show, maybe not as popular. Ironically enough, the largest growing segment of the opera audience is under 35.
So Golden Girl rerun watchers.
Correct, like me, late at night.
Right.
Yes, and I like that too.
I'll tell you, every year our gift to the city is our simulcast, which we simulcast live from the Opera House to either the mall or Nationals Park, which we did last year. And if anyone asked me if opera was alive and well in the district, I'd say yes, because we had 15,000 people not only sign up on our website, but then show up at Nationals Park for free opera. So it's alive and well in DC.
I would say so.
That is wonderful. And of those 15,000 people, do you think that the majority of them were that under 35 crowd?
They were under 35. What was really neat about it is there were some people a little older, but people brought their kids.
Oh, wow.
So what was great was you had Major League Grass, people sitting in the field, people sitting in the stands. You had the opera live under the stars. You had the head of our company, Placido Domingo, come at intermission, which wowed people. What was really neat is until it started, there were kids playing football out in the outfield, throwing ball with dad, and it was like, even if they're not watching what was on the screen, they're being exposed to it, they're hearing it. So it's creating the next generation of opera audiences. So I think a lot of them are younger people.
And do you think people really absolutely love it or absolutely hate it, or is there an in-between?
There is absolutely an in-between.
So Pretty Woman lied to us.
I wouldn't say that.
It was the writer's fault.
But I would say that there is something in opera for everybody. If you go see a show like Carmen, which we did this year with Denise Graves, who is from DC,
Yeah.
she is Carmen. It's the best first opera you'll ever see. And there is something in Carmen that you've heard everywhere. Whether it's in a Campbell Soup commercial or whether it's in other movies, it's amazing what has come from opera. So
if you suggest that everyone if they haven't seen it yet, go and see Carmen because it's something that will probably intrigue you to continue to go. But what if those folks who actually saw an opera and they're like, ugh, I'm turned off forever? Would you suggest go back and see Carmen?
I'd say call me.
Oh yeah.
And I'll find one for you. You know, every opera is different. I mean, this season we had an amazing array of operas. Next season they're all fun. They're all comical. We're doing some Shakespeare, we're doing some Verdi, we're doing some Strauss. So there is something for everybody, and it's sort of finding the right opera for you. Some people like a heavy Wagnerian opera, some people like a really fun opera. So it all depends. But I would say if you didn't like it and you went once, call me and come again.
Now, do you think maybe people don't like it because it's sung in a different language, but it's not always sung in a different language? There are English operas, yes?
There are English operas. Actually, last year we did a premiere of an opera, A View from a Bridge, written by a very talented American composer, and it was like going to a Broadway show. It was phenomenal, and everyone was like, is this going to sell? Is it not going to sell? And it was unbelievable. Actually, Placido Domingo, who's the head of our company, mandates that every year we pretty much do an American opera, because he believes it takes time for an opera to grow and be popular. La Traviata, which is one of the most popular operas ever, when it opened to horrible reviews and said this will never last, nobody will like it. And now it's considered one of the best operas ever. So, but one of the things that has changed in opera is you now have surtitles. You come to the opera, and I never say sit in the front row. I say sit 7 or 8 rows back so you can look up and look at the screen without hurting your neck, and everything's in English. And it's changed opera. You don't have to put on a tuxedo anymore. Sure, we have people in tuxedos, but we have people casual, people dressed up. They come, they don't have to read the story first. They can read it in English as it's going along. And some of the stories you just feel.
How do you feel about that? I'm from a younger generation, but I like to get dressed up when I go to the theater. I think you should get dressed up. It shows respect for the people that are performing for you.
I agree. It irks me sometimes when I see someone in jeans. I'm from New York. I grew up going to the theater all the time with my grandmother. And when I went, everyone wore a suit. Now I go and it's 50-50, and sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't think the actors are upset when they see, one, they don't see anyone, it's dark. But the truth of the matter is, if that's what it takes for you to come,
to
then
buy
come.
that ticket, right?
But I would say on the flip side, going to the opera is a great date night. You go to dinner, you go to the opera, you get drinks afterwards. It's fun to get dressed up on date night.
I think so too. How many operas does the Washington Opera actually do a year?
We do 6 to 8 productions,
Okay.
and of any given production, we do 6 to 10 shows.
Okay.
So if it's really popular, we'll add one. But so we have about 50 to 60 performances a year, and then we give people the summer off because opera, as in Pretty Woman, it's pretty emotional a lot of the time. And we have found, us and other opera companies have found that you need a break. So opera companies go dark in the summer, open back up in September, run September to June, and then again you get your break.
And where do the artists come from? Do you have local artists at least playing the minor roles?
All over the world. We fly in performers from all over, sometimes local, sometimes not. Denise was local, obviously is not. One of the things we did, not this Christmas, but the previous Christmases, we did Hansel and Gretel. It was for the community, it was for the kids. And what was really neat is we did it on U Street, and we found a local elementary school. And we said, why don't you be the chorus? And we decided we put in our budget, not to talk about budgets, but we put in our budget some money for ringers. I mean, these were kids. And our choir master went down and met with them. And he's like, you can save that money in your budget. These kids are great.
Oh, that's awesome.
So our performers are all ages. Yeah, it's really neat. And not only that, we have supers sometimes on stage. So we've had Supreme Court justices on stage who don't sing but are there and different. So it's kind of neat. There's something for everybody.
Okay, who is your favorite opera singer and what is your favorite opera? You had to know this was coming.
I had to know it was coming, and for political reasons and otherwise, I would say my boss, Placido Domingo.
There you go. That's a good answer.
Placido is amazing. He is the greatest person I've ever worked for, and I don't necessarily mean that as a singer.
Yeah.
He is the most warm and giving person. He has single-handedly recreated opera, brought opera audiences together. I mean, he's not one of the 3 tenors. BBC actually did a survey, who were the greatest tenors of all time. And they asked composers and directors, and Placido won. Placido is considered the greatest tenor to ever live. So to have the greatest tenor to ever live
here,
as your boss.
Here, and as my boss, it's amazing.
I bet.
And actually, our season closed last week. He conducted the final performance of Turandot. And in terms of my favorite opera, in some ways, I'm new to opera. I've worked for the company for about 2 years. I've seen more operas in the last 2 years than I saw in my previous years.
I'm sure.
And have yet to find one that I don't like. I think Traviata, which I brought up already, is great because you listen to it and it's something that you can walk out of the opera house humming along with.
Yep.
So I think I would say that.
Well, I can't wait to find out what my favorite opera is. Do you have a favorite opera, Victoria?
I don't have a favorite opera, but
well, we'll bring you and you'll have to get one.
Do you have one, Pamela?
I love Phantom.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
The first thing I saw was Pirates of Penzance, which I think is an opera, but I would consider it more of a musical.
More of a musical, absolutely.
Anyway, I certainly enjoyed it, and we've certainly enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, well,
thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for being with us on this episode of The District Dish.